Keep it going for Jade. Big round of applause for Jade. Come on, more than that for Jade. There we go.
All right, so when my boyfriend and I were first getting to know each other, we made up a game that we called Confessions of a Real Human. And if either one of us started a sentence with that phrase, we knew to treat it, that it was going to be vulnerable and to treat it with empathy. Like, Confessions of a Real Human, I'd like to cuddle, but I'm feeling kind of gassy. And after a few weeks, and I was nearly confident that he was confident that he'd found the perfect girlfriend, I sprung this one on him. Confessions of a Real Human. I was recently in a psych ward for 6 weeks for PTSD. And the 18 months before that, about 18 months before that, I was in what I like to call the dark ages. My 15-year marriage had collapsed, and my entire adult identity as I'd known it was shattered. I was lost. And just when I thought things couldn't possibly get worse, I experienced what I call a trifecta of traumatic events that sent me to a new low. A physical assault that left me with a concussion, a drugging that left me sexually assaulted, and then a restructure of a job that I loved that left me reporting to a bully boss. And as you can imagine, in the aftermath of all of that, I was completely lost. I was disoriented. And I had become so disoriented, in fact, that I'd even gotten lost on my 2-block walk to work. And it was at that point that I knew that I needed help. And I called my doctor, and she was incredibly concerned and recommended that I be admitted to an inpatient program. And of course, my initial reaction was like, what? I'm not crazy. I don't belong in a psych ward. But I was so desperate to get better that I agreed to be admitted at 8 a.m. the following morning. And the 10-hour days started off with meditation, positive reading. Then we would have scientific lessons about the brain and how trauma affected the brain. I'd see my psychiatrist, I'd see my therapist, and in the afternoons I'd have art therapy, which I loved. Then in the evenings, we would have assignments like writing handwritten letters, in my case, to my abusers, which I would eventually have to read aloud and to the group, and I loathed this. But the big highlight of the day was the group therapy session. And most days, the group therapy session was less like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and more like The Breakfast Club. An athlete, a brain, a basket case, a criminal, and a princess. I was the princess because every morning I would wake up at 5 a.m. to do my hair and makeup. And I told myself that if I wanted to be better, I had to act like I was better, even if in my disoriented state it took me hours to get ready. And in the group, one of the signs that someone in the group was actually getting better was when they got to ask the question, which is, how do you experience me? And the group was encouraged to answer honestly to this question. And for a few weeks, I sat silently until the lead therapist gave me the cue that it was my turn. I was trembling, but I looked at the group and I asked, how do you experience me? The first answers were polite, and then after a very awkward pause, the loud Ali Sheedy of the group blurted out, we don't trust you. You act nice on the outside, but you're fake. It's like you're hiding something. And gradually, everyone in their own words affirmed what she'd said. Their words stung, but I was trying to stay open to what they said. And then the lead therapist looked at me and said, tomorrow, you have an assignment. I want you to come in with no makeup, no hair products, and in clothes that you would normally wear at home. I felt completely misunderstood, but if the group needed to see me looking frumpy, I was willing to give it a try. So the next day, I showed up as instructed, and I even wore pajama shorts, which exposed some unfortunate cellulite. And after checking in with the other group members, the lead therapist came to me, and it was my turn. He commended me for doing the assignment, and then he dropped this bomb. I'd like you to read your letter. And my initial thought was, seriously, today of all days when I'm like raw. and my letter that day, my handwritten letter, was actually to my father, the man who had ironically always been incredibly preoccupied with my safety, yet had caused me the most physical harm, including a physical assault that left me with brain damage. My letter was 8 pages, front and back. My hands were shaking so much that I could hardly even hold my paper. I read the first few lines and I just began to weep as I described in detail my deepest, darkest secrets, and that how as the abuse got worse, so did my cystic acne, and that the makeup wasn't an attempt to be better than other people. I just wanted to fit in. It was the first time in my life that I'd ever shared my story. And after finishing, the lead therapist said to me, "I want you to ask the question again." And with tear-stained eyes, I turned to the group and I asked, "How do you experience me?" And this time it wasn't judgment that I heard, it was compassion. And even loud Ali Sheedy conceded that for the first time, she understood me and that I seemed real. All of my life, I had been told to smile, look pretty, make the family look good, and now everything was different. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hiding. And Confessions of a Real Human, being in a psych ward, was one of the best things that's ever happened to me.